Okay, how's everybody? Everybody's good? Ready for some snow?
Oh, a little late for that.
Too early? Yeah, too early.
3 years here. It's the first time in November.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's it. We know what we have signed up for sooner or later. Anyway, okay, so today our week 10. Week 10, we are in our final 4 weeks of the course. Getting through it. Heroes, resistance. Don't give up.
So we're not gonna do the theory task in the final test as well? We're not just doing the test?
In the final test is multiple choice. Yeah, it's about 40 multiple choice questions. There will be 2 questions that are coding related, but just 2 of them. So
From the book or from the...
I'll have a look at what they are about. It's more about logic and based on what you have gotten from the course. I think that you don't even need to code precisely. You just have to do pseudocodes and I don't recall exactly what are the 2 questions, but again, majority of the test is really multiple choice.
And then coding test.
And
then coding test.
2 that are coding related, but you don't even have to. I don't think that you even have to open Visual Studio. It doesn't require that. There's no project to be uploaded. It's very simple questions. Now we have the project that we're going to be talking about today. Okay, but a little bit later. So today, what we're going to be talking about, security. We're going to be doing right after that. We're going to be doing an exercise about security, applying security. And we're going to be talking about our project, okay? Just want to briefly, this question here, or this point here, I saw only afterwards, so I want to make sure that we address that. I don't like to leave any points or any questions not addressed, okay? Sometimes I find that I spend more time watching video than just seeing the final code. So my answer to that is that if you are just watching the videos, if you are not following, if you're not doing what the video is showing you to do, if you are not getting to the end, because I said before, I'm not going to go through line by line of code here. You have to do some work. I will do some work here assisting you, but I cannot go through line by line of codes. So the videos are there for you to visit them whenever you want. And you can get to the very final video as well. You can get to see how I not only provide all the source codes, but all the videos will walk you through all the way from the beginning to the very end. So if you don't get to the very end, I mean, you have all the chances to go to the very end. You may not be able to do that right away in class, but hey, it's a collaboration here, and I said, you're going to have to do some work by yourself. You're going to do some work here as well. So, again, if you have any concerns about that, let me know. 101, we can discuss about that. If you are having difficulties because, of the way we do things, I can go back to lecturing, and I can lecture for 2 hours, and we can practice afterwards, Again, so let me know. I'll keep this here. If you have any follow-ups on this, you can do anonymously here as well, okay? So, again, I don't shy away from any discussions, even the tough ones, okay? So, again, feel free to carry on the conversation here. I'm going to keep this there as well, okay? So, again, Padlet is open there. If you want to mention anything, feel free. Okay, security. Security. Hopefully you have watched the videos, talking about videos. Hopefully you have gone through steps 1 to 6. That's the intention, that's how I like, I said that from the very beginning. The way I like to do things is I like you to come to class with some base knowledge so you can build on top of that, okay? So hopefully you have gone through from 1 to 6, and you have some base knowledge there about security. Security that we're going to be dealing with is about saying that certain parts of our system, of our application, they are restricted to only users that have access to that. Actually, today, we don't care whether or not the user, which level the user is. We just care that is the user logged in, yes or no. If the user is logged in, then the user will be able to perform the action, to view the view, to perform the action. If the user is not logged in, the user will not have access to that. Now, we also going to see the ability to have multiple levels of users, to have different roles. If we look at eCentennial, our eCentennial here, just in this class alone, we have 2 different roles on eCentennial. What are those? Yeah, so we have 2 different roles. So when it comes to MVC, we also have this concept of roles. Maybe we have a role called admin that can see everything. Maybe you have a role that has less access than that. However, today, we're not going to be covering that. Today is about, is the user in, yes or no? If not, they need to log in. And you're going to be able to see how we can secure controllers, secure actions, and create a login view, okay? So, yeah, here are the objectives. Today we're going to be able to secure actions, controllers, and allow the user to log in, okay? I'll be demonstrating some of that. In the second half of our first half, you're going to be practicing this. You're going to be hands-on on that. But initially, I'll be doing some demonstrations here, okay?
In terms of the project itself,
yeah.
what we are restricting is the view.
Yes, yes. And because we restrict the views are they are attached to the URLs, so we are restricting the access to some URLs. Yeah, so you're correct, okay? Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is available on chapter 12 of the book. Chapter 12 covers 2 topics. It covers security and it covers deployment. Deployment, we're going to be talking about that next week. Deployment is when you're going to be making your codes live outside of your workstations. Okay, we're going to be seeing how to deploy to Azure. Okay. Again, you can yeah. So next week. So this week security. Next week deployments. The third week will be back to security, but now we're going to be talking about how can you create users, how can you create roles, how can you manage users. Today is about, okay, we have a user, can we log in? And once we log in, we can see certain areas of the application that we could not see otherwise. The playlist for the chapter is available there as well. You have gone through the first few steps. And what you have done so far covered the basis. You have created an identity context. Who can just tell me briefly what that identity context is?
Is where you are going to store the user.
It is. It is. So the same way that we have a database context that we have worked already with, that stores the products, the orders, we have another context that will store the user information. So now our application has 2 bridges. Has one bridge to the product database, has another bridge to the user database, okay? We could have created this context or this database within the same database as the product database. I think that the author wanted to demonstrate how the same application could potentially connect to multiple databases. That's the reason why he decided to separate them out. But with the app identity context, this is, again, the context, the bridge to the database. We have a very similar context as we had initially to the products. Now we have to the identity database. Again, a minor difference is that we are using the identity DB context instead of just a DB context, okay? When we read this word identity, we are talking about users, we are talking about passwords, we are talking about validation, okay? So a very simple class that will allow you to reach the user database, okay? And again, you have seen that if you have done the video. Second one here, what is that? Well, it's connection string. But now we have two. What is the difference between this one and the second one? The database names is different. What else is different as well? It has to be different. Yeah, the IDs here, see? So here we have sports store products, and here we have sports store identity. They should be different, otherwise we would be able to reach them out. So again, just the connection string for each one of the database. As I said, we could have used the same database to store user information. We could, okay? But we may even have this database here as not as a SQL database, but even as an Oracle database. You know? Why not? Another type of database. You know? We could be connecting to another storage location. Okay. Again, I'm just brushing through what you have done during the exercise, doing what you did at home, outside of class. I'll be focused in a second, moving things forward. I'm just brushing through things here. And if you have questions as we go along, let me know. I'll also have a chance, hopefully today, to have a look at some of the questions that you have posted. So this code here, where is it? Where is in the application this code, these methods? Which class? In the startup, okay? Now, in our startup, to be able to use the identity framework, we use this namespace, Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity. And then, the same way as we had the context, we added the context for the original database, we have the context for the new database, the new identity database. And here is the connection string. Data, sports store identity. This is to identify the entry in the connection string, and then give me the connection string. So this line here will allow you to connect to the database. And we also added the second line here, which we are saying adds the identity services to the application. So with this, I'm making available the identity user will be the class that you're going to be using to access user information. Like what? Give me one user information. ID. What else? The name of the user, the password of the user. Well, password is a little bit trickier. We do that in a slightly different way. But that's the class. We're going to be using this class. We don't have to build our own user class. Identity framework gave us the identity user already ready to be used. We can expand that, we can improve that, we can enhance that, but it gives us that out of the box. Okay? And then we are saying here, okay, use identity. Let's use this class for the user. I'm not going to cover this yet. This is the role. We're going to be talking about this a little bit later, but later in another day, not today. But here we are saying, go to the identity, the app identity DB context, to retrieve the user information. That's where it gets stored. You store it here, retrieve it from there. That's where you're going to be able to create, update, delete, insert new users, validate users. And this last part here, this is about passwords, about password validation. When we need to reset a password, we can send a token via email. And someone, I mean, I'm sure that you have had to reset your password, maybe any system that you may use out there. And some systems, they send you a link via email, so you can click and you can reset your password. So this add default tokens, it helps on that side of things, okay? So again, I know that there are lots of little details here, but the main point that I want to highlight is that, one, that's the namespace that you have to add. This is where we connect the application, the app identity DB context to the database with this line here. In this one here, we make the identity services available to the application. There's one extra line that we need to add, but that's about it in a nutshell. Okay? The last part in our startup class that we have to add, we have to make sure that we have, is the app use authentication. Lots of time, I even fall for that as well. I miss adding this, and all of a sudden, I cannot log in. That's because this is missing. This will not allow you to log in properly. So again, make sure that you have this added as well. Sometimes we miss that, and we are not be able to log into the application. So again, in the configure methods of our startup, we have to make sure that we add the app use authentication methods as well. So we are adding authentication to our application builder, to our application, okay? As we had done with MVC in other parts here as well. So this is the plumbing. This is the plumbing part of our of applying user authentication to our application. That's it. This is the plumbing. Configure and configure services. This is the plumbing parts, the parts that we configure in the startup class. Okay. 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 So moving on here, we have the commands. Commands to create the database, to create the migration scripts and create the database. As compared to what you have seen before, something has been added here to this command. Which element has been added as compared to what you have seen before?
The context.
The context. Why did we add this?
Because I already have another.
Because now we have two contexts. We have a context to the product database and a context to the identity database. So now, if you try to run just this, it will say, but I have two contexts. Which one do you want to create the migrations for? Which one do you want to create the database, update the database here? So you have to specify the context, okay, on both of them. One to create the migration scripts, the other one to run the migration scripts so it can create the database and create the tables that are required for the identity framework to be able to store information, okay? Now, you're going to have to use the same syntax if you want to create migration scripts or database for the original DB context, okay? So you have to use, but of course you have to change the name to the corresponding DB context that you want to create the migrations or create the database for. In assignment 3 and during the project, you're going to be using this quite a lot. You're going to be making changes to your models. You're going to have the needs to update the database, to change the database. you're going to have a chance to practice this quite a lot. You're going to, one way or another, you're going to get very familiarized with that because you have to apply that to your assignment 3, to your projects as well. Wanted to mention this, which I have not mentioned about, I have not talked about this before, about the package manager console that comes within Visual Studio. You can actually run the same commands or equivalents, but within Visual Studio. You don't need to leave Visual Studio, bring the command line to run that. You can actually run this from within Visual Studio. I want to quickly demonstrate that. So, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to just open local database so I can delete identity database. I'm going to delete because I want to recreate and demonstrate how to use package manager. I'm going to close this. So I'm going to use that command over there. I have already the migration scripts created, but I want to update the database. I want to create the database of the identity information. Again, I just deleted it to demonstrate. How can you find the package manager console in Visual Studio? Well, you can just go to View, Other Windows, and then Package Manager. It opens up this area with the blinking cursor, and it says PM from Package Manager. And you can type, as you see, it's not the exact same command. It's just a similar command, but with a slightly different syntax. This one here to add, this one here to update the database, to create the database. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to paste it here. And as you can see, we have also the parameter called context, where I'm specifying I want to run for the identity context. So I can hit enter. The same messages that you get by running this in the command line, you're going to get them here as well. Just give it time to run. And you're going to start to see the scripts running as well. Okay. Again, you don't have to exit Visual Studio and go to the command line and try to find out where is the folder, all of that. You can run from here. Now, of course, keep in mind that the syntax is slightly different, but it is the same thing. You're going to be achieving the same goal. Okay? If I refresh the database, identity is here with all the tables related to security, like users, roles. All of this is related to identity information. Okay. Okay, is there some way to do .NET and framework migrations, add initial without the command line? Well, that's just what we did. Now, exactly with this exact syntax, no, you need the command line. But with a slightly simplified syntax, that's what we just did. So again, the first line, this is the equivalent of the first line. And for this line here, this is the equivalent. So the first one creates the migration scripts. The second one applies the migration scripts to the database. Okay? So again, correct me if I misunderstood here, but this is what we just did by using the package manager console. Okay?
Is there any way to do that automatically?
Automatically based on what?
Based in don't use this or don't use the CMD.
Yeah, but when you say automatic, in which moment? when you compile?
For example.
There might be, because you can run external commands when you compile, but it's something that needs to be configured here. It's not something very straightforward. There is no, oh, check this option that it will run for you. There's no such thing. I mean, Visual Studio has capabilities to run additional commands if you want, but again, it's just a little bit more involving. Okay. One thing to keep in mind, as always, is that both commands, you can only run them if your application is compiling. If your application has a problem, they will fail. Okay? They will fail to run. So make sure that your application is compiling. Okay. Moving on here, you have also created the seed data. Seed data is just a small little class to populate the users with the initial user, with a first user. Okay? We are adding this user called admin, the passwords, very similar to what we had with the original seed data. Now we have an identity seed data. A few things to notice here is that we use this class, user manager, identity user, to be able to create, update, delete, and find users. Okay? Again, user manager is used to perform basic operations with the users. Create updates, delete, and create, reads, update, the CRUD stuff. So what is this code doing? Well, it's creating a user manager for us. We are creating the user here by using the user manager. And we are calling these methods to be able to load this user here. If the user is null, if it doesn't exist yet, then it creates. Okay? If the user does not exist, it creates, and that's it. Second time I run this code, the user will exist, and we don't create it anymore. So this is just to create for the very first time. Okay. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. We are moving on to step 7 and step 8 here. You have not done this, so have a look here. At the end of later today, I'll make the codes available already. But now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be securing our application. We're going to be securing a controller and a few actions. And you're going to see how we do that. Well, again, we're going to be securing the list action. Actually, before I show you this, let me show you. I'm going to show you the end result. What is it that we are working to get towards, okay?
After we see this, are you going to start from chapter 10 or from chapter 9?
After we see this, I didn't get it.
Follow what you are going to do.
Yeah, this is chapter 12.
So from 11.
From 11.
You
From
are going to do this already. Like we're gonna follow you, so it has to be from chapter 11.
from the end of chapter 11, yeah. And again, hopefully you have done the exercise of step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
This was in my mind. If you are going to start from part 6 or you are
Part 6. I'm going to be starting from part 6.
Oh.
Good point. I'm starting from part 6. But what I'm showing right now is the end of chapter 12, which is the whole thing. I want first you to have a look. What is the final product? How is the final result looks like? So you have an idea at least of, okay, this is what I'm working towards, okay? Okay, so I'm going to try to access a place that right now we have secured already. And again, I'm talking about the final product here. So I'm going to go order list. This action inside the order controller has been secured. So when I try to access it, you see, it shows me, well, I don't think I run the right thing here. Let me have a look here. Yes, I did not. I run the wrong one. So let me see here. This is the one. Plus that's the one. Okay, so I'm going to try this again. This is the project at the end of chapter 12. So I'm going to run it. And of course, now I run the other one. So now I get stuck. Let's exit there. And now I'm going to have to close. Okay, so this is this one here. Okay, so I'm going to try again. This should be locked down, secured. Okay, so what happens is that when we try to access an action that is secured and we have not logged in yet, we get redirected to the login action, to the login view. Let's have a look at the URL. What is account there in that URL? Based on what you came to understand about URLs in the context of MVC. What is account? Is up? Is up? It's a controller. So account is a controller. What about login? It's an action. Okay? So we're gonna be building those things. We're gonna be building the account controller. We're gonna be building the login action. We're gonna be building the login view. So that's what we're gonna be progressing towards. Now, if I try to log in here, now I can see. So it brings me back to where I was before, okay? But now I can see. Now I can type the other. I think there is another one. Admin. Is it admin index? I think that this one was anyway, the point is that if you try to access an action that is protected, you're going to be redirected to a login. You're going to be able to log in, and then you go back. Now you have access. That's what we're going to be building. That's what we're going to be working towards here. Okay? Any questions here? Okay, so with that in mind, let's go back here and be guided by the PowerPoint. So what I'm going to do next, I'll keep this open just to use as a reference whenever we need, but I'm going to go open the source codes of step number 6 from chapter 12, answering you, Luis. Okay, so step number 6 is the one that you hopefully stopped doing the exercise. So I'm going to be taking from there and moving forward here. If I go open, I have that version here. Okay, so with this one, before I get coding, I'm going to run it. Okay, that's the type of problem that you have when you are running, when you try to run multiple versions of Visual Studio at the same time. Is this type of the type of thing. But let's close and open again. Okay, so let me try this again here. So right now, if I go back to order list, see, it shows me right away, because there is no security applied yet. What if we do this? What if we go to our order controller and just recap? We're going to be protecting this action and these actions in this entire controller. So to protect this list action, we go to that controller and we go to the list method, list action, and you say authorize. So when we annotate authorize, what happens is that this method here, this action becomes secured. Now it's giving me an error there. That's fine. It's because I did not add the namespace. So I have to add Microsoft.ASP.NET core.authorization. Okay. So once that is added, now I'm going to go back. And let's see how this goes. So let's try again, order list. Now we get a redirect, but we have a problem there. Let's look at this. So I asked that before. I'm going to ask again. What is account here? Controller. What is login? The action. Let's look at our projects and see if we have them. See if we have them. See, controllers, well, we don't have an account controller. And if we don't have an account controller, I mean, much less login, because login is part of the account controller. We don't have account controller. So the question becomes, where is this coming from? Where is this redirect come from? Well, it's coming from the identity framework. By default, when you don't have access to a particular action, you're going to get redirected to this URL. By default. It doesn't mean that you cannot change that. You can change. We're not gonna look at how to change that. But by default, identity framework is telling you, hey, I need you to create an account controller, and I need you to create a login action. So let's do that. Let's just do that. Let's create the controller. Let's create the action, and let's handle this error here. So again, this is the place that the framework is sending us automatically so we can log in and then we can have access to the original location, to the order list, which is right here in the, as a parameter in the URL. Okay? Again, tell me if this is confusing. Give me some feedback.
As far as I know, it's because when we create the project, the entity framework throws everything that we need for this. Except
If we were using the MVC template, it may have done that. For us, we are using the empty template, so those things don't come.
don't come set, but the infrastructure is there.
Yes, yes. Now, in this case here, is again, it's MVC, it's not MVC. This is done by the identity framework. This is the identity framework saying that, hey, by default, we expect you to have a controller called account and an action called login. You can change that, but again, let's not go that far. Let's take care of creating them here, okay? So, what's the name of our controller? Account. So let's create a controller here. Right click, in the controllers, add class. We're gonna call this account controller. Okay. Account controller must inherit from controller. And controller needs the namespace of, let's see here, ASP.core.mvc. Now what? What is the name of our action? Login. Okay, so let's create a public view result login, and this will return a view. Okay, this returns a view. And again, now what? What's next step here that we should do? Let's create the view. Let's create the view with the same name as the action. We're not sending a parameter here. So where exactly are we creating this view? Which folder? Under views? Order? Shared? Admin? Come on, account. The name of the controller. Okay, so we create a new folder called account. Under views.
Why we just put in other folder? Why we have to name
In other. Well, if we put somewhere else, we have to specify here, because when I say view, it will not only look for login view, but it will look inside the folder account.
So they say this account controller, but they recognize the just account view.
Yes, the name of the folder should be only the name of the controller less controller. Yes, yes, it's a must. Okay. Great. So we have accounts, and we're going to create our view there. So let's go to new item. Let's go to web, ASP.NET, Razor view, and here is our login. Okay. Okay, I'm going to get rid of everything here. I'm going to just leave it just like that. Okay, so let's think for a second here. Let's start this in a very, very simple way. What is the information that I'm going to be asking for in the login view, in the login? So the name and the password, is that fair? The name and password? Okay. Now, I'm going to be asking for that. But they will have to be inside of what? When it comes to HTML, those two inputs, they have to be inside of what? A form. They have to be inside a form, okay? Because you're going to click in a button, you're going to submit that information, and then you're going to be able to log in, to validate that username and passwords, okay? So you're going to start by creating a form here. There is more, but I'm going to start with a form here. So form tag, then we have to specify what's here. The action. Let's assume that you're going to be creating the login action. But again, this action here is not a get, but a post. So this will be a post. But again, the name will be login. The methods will be a post. Do we have to add the controller here, the name of the controller? Is it, let's say, is it mandatory that we add the controller here?
No.
It's not because we are in the accounts folder. So without the controller, it will post to a login action that is assumed to be in the accounts controller. Okay? So there's nothing wrong to put it here. But because I'm inside the same controller, I don't have to put the controller name. Let's start to work inside the form. So I'm going to make this form very basic. I'm not going to use a lot of markup. I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm going to just say name. Which control am I going to use here? Which HTML tag? An input. So I'm going to say inputs, and I'm going to say ASP-4. The question is, can I use ASP-4 here? Can I use that here? You can only use ASP-4 if you have what? If you have a parameter, if you have a model, okay? So if you have a model, then you can use an ASP-4, okay? So here we cannot, but we have to specify the name. Actually, more specifically, we have to specify the name of the control, of the input. Now, very important, keep this in mind. If you are using a model, and if you are already using ASP-4, just use the ASP-4. You don't need to put a name there anymore, okay? If you can use ASP-4, you don't have to put a name. Actually, you may get a problem if you put a name that is different from, and that does match the ASP-4. Again, just making a side note here. So the name of our inputs, let's say that it is, well, name. I'm just going to put a line break here. And I'm going to say password. Another input with the name password. But this time, and actually here I could have set as well, type equals to text. And here, for the password, I'm going to say type equals to password, so that it can mask, it can put the asterisks or the dots in the passwords.
They have such a specific name of the type, so we have to put password. We can't just put, we can just name.
Just the name?
Yeah. About the type. About the type.
Oh, you have to put the name. Because the name will be what you're going to be using to...
About the type.
The type.
Yeah. You have to put password in the type.
If you don't put, the password will come up in plain sight. So if you type the password, you're going to see the password. It's not going to mask the password. That's the reason why we use the password here, because it will, as you type, it will put some dots or asterisks depending on which browser you use. Okay, and then what? What else do we need there? Just to finalize this simple form. A button. A button. So again, let's do here a button. So let's go button. Type will be a submit. And then let's call this login. Okay. Now, what will be the next natural step here? Now, I should be able to run this. Of course, it won't validate yet, but let's have a look here. If I say order list, see, now I can see some stuff there. It's not yet, finalized. We need a few things there. Actually, it's using the wrong template, but we're going to be fixing that. Let's have a break. Let's have 5 minutes. Once we get back, we're going to carry on with this one. Okay, 5 minutes.
Are we doing creating groups today or no?
Doing what?
Are we creating groups today or no?
Yes. Yes, we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing that beginning of our 4th hour. Like 9 o'clock-ish.
Okay.
Okay? Did you see the information I sent you back about the...
Yeah, I got it too.
You have, oh, you got?
Yeah, I got
Oh,
it.
good. Good. Hopefully, did you get Eduardo? I don't know who you got.
There's two.
Two?
Yeah, I forgot the names.
Okay, awesome.
You don't deduct for just being late, right?
What is that?
You don't consider it being
No,
late.
no. Oh, good. Yes.
For the video file,
Yep.
I cannot I cannot do this.
Okay, so first you go to the drive. So, but type in E column. E column. The two dots there. E column. This sign. E column. No problem. It's this one here.
Okay.
E column. Now you see. Now you can do the CD, but first you have to be in the drive.
In the drive.
Yeah. It's E drive.
Yeah.
Now you are in the E drive. Now you can do the CD.
Okay. CD and paste the location.
Well, I don't know if you are in the correct folder already. Are you? Yeah.
Oh,
Seems so.
sorry.
Go on. But now it's just a matter of you are already in the right place. It's just a matter of running the commands.
It seems so much easier just to use the built-in one and Visual Studio.
It is. It is. Why you didn't start from there?
I actually had trouble because I was doing the video side by side, and the video shrunk so much that I couldn't see it was dash context.
I see.
So I kept trying to run it and I didn't know what context was. I was like, wait. So I looked it up and it was like, context makes sense. And then I looked at documentation and oh wait, there's dash. Do I not see it in the video? I had to like open the resolution bigger and find the dash. I spent so much time now figuring out what this was.
And there's a notion where it's like, how is it moving forward in today's society? Yeah, like basically,
just joined the group. I didn't put the buttons.
Okay,
So
let me see. Oh, don't join yet.
Yeah, so I just.
That's fine. I can remove you. But yeah, don't join the groups yet. We're gonna work on that in our second half. Okay? No problem. No problem. What is that?
I was kind of banking on the random group stuff.
Well, we're gonna. I thought that it would be better if it's self-organized. So.
I'm sure most prefer that. I'm just kind of. I feel like a lot of groups already have been made between last week and this week. Actually, I had another error when I finished the set.
Yep.
I put my files on here, and I hit an error where it said that my data didn't exist. For some reason, that didn't carry over with it. So
No, it doesn't carry. When you copy the project database, doesn't come together.
I thought that the product one was carried over.
Okay. The reason why you think like that is because the product, the seed of the product, it runs the migration scripts.
Okay,
The second one does not.
that explains that.
That's why.
Because when we first started going into it again, I was like, wait a second, why is this?
So it's not that the database comes together, it's that it's created again. So if you have data there in the original one, you're gonna see that the data is not in the new location because it's just recreated.
That makes a lot more sense. I
Oh.
thought it's something wrong with the other one, but.
Okay, so let's carry on here. When we stopped, we left our project like this. So let's just fix a few things here. First off, let's use a different template. Okay? So let's just address that. If we have a look at our shared folder, you're going to see that we have two layouts. We have one layout for the front end and one layout for the back end, for the admin. So by default, what is happening here is that it's using whatever is in the view start. So it's using the standard layout. We're going to change this to use the admin layout. So let's save and let's refresh the view. We're going to see another template coming up. So here is the other template. Now, of course, this is not login yet because we didn't create our login action there, our post action. So let's stop here and let's do that. Let's go back to our controller, account controller, and let's expand this a little bit. Let's say that we're gonna say public. For now, let's say that this will return a view result, and we're gonna call it login. Return view. Now, a few things here. First is that we have to annotate this action as what? As HTTP get post. Let's do this one for the post. Now, what else? What else do we need to modify in this action signature? Parameters. So what are the parameters of this login? Exactly name and password. Okay? So the input becomes the input controls becomes the input parameters of our action. So you're going to go there. I'm going to say string name, string password. Now, the spelling needs to be the same, but the casing doesn't have to, okay? So that's the reason why I can say lowercase n, even though in the login we have uppercase N. So it doesn't matter. The casing does not matter, but the spelling does matter. It's important to have the same spelling, okay? Okay. Okay, so now what? Now we have to start to validate this post. As best practice, whenever you are creating the post action, check if the model is valid. So check if the model state is valid to make sure that we address required fields, we address any kind of validation that might be happening with our form. So I'm going to say if model state what am I missing here? Oh, it's kind of broken here. If model state dot is valid, again, just checking if the model is valid, we will do something. So if the model is valid, here inside of this if, we're going to do two things. One, we're going to check if the user exists. That's the first one. Does the user exist, yes or no? If the user exists, we're going to check if the password is correct. So we're going to have two conditions here. One we check for the user, the other one we check for the passwords. They have to be done in separate stages because each one of them will use a different class to perform that for us, okay? We're going to start with a class that we saw a little bit, a hint of that, when we were in the seed data, in the identity seeds. So let's go to the identity seed here. So we will be using the same user manager class that was used in the identity seed data to populate with the first user. We're going to use this guy here, user manager, okay? Now, we're going to actually be doing this here. So we're going to be creating an identity user, and you're going to use find. Actually, let's leave it like that for now. First, let's address this. Identity user comes from the namespace Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Identity. So let's select that so we can address this one right away. Now, user manager. Well, user manager here in the identity seed is being declared and created here. In our case there, in our account controller, user manager is our link to the pool of users, okay? In a way, you can think about the user manager as the repository of users, okay? So we have to, the same way as we have with the other controllers, that we declare a private repository, we're going to have a private repository of users as well, which is given to us by this class, user manager. So I'm going to declare and create in our account controller a private user manager. Again, you can think about the user manager as the repository of users. We didn't have to create that. It's given to us by the identity framework. We are just declaring here. We are not creating it. Now, once again, very similar to what we do with the repositories, we're going to be using the constructor to inject the dependency here. We're going to be creating a constructor for account controller. Let me just see if there's any. Again, as we go through this, if there are questions, let me know. Because again, it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot of steps here, quite a lot of things. Don't get too much hooked up in which step comes where. Just see if you can understand the overall approach here. So we're going to develop a constructor, so public, controller name, and then we're going to say, we're going to add a parameter here. The same way as we have dependency injection with the other ones, the other repositories, we're going to have dependency injection here as well with this guy. So we're gonna expect a parameter to this constructor of type user manager identity user. We're going to call this user MGR. And then we're going to say user manager, which is our private repository, is equals to this one here. And this is yet another example of dependency injection. Who is setting this up for us? Well, that's actually MVC. When MVC is creating the account controller, it gives this to us. Because in the startup, we have specified the identity here. Okay? So this is how you get the user manager. One quick note. Again, user manager is used to create, update, and delete, create, update, delete, and search users. Okay? Basic management of users. However, it is not used to manage passwords. Password is, in a way, it's a special property of users. So there is a special class that you're going to be using to deal with passwords. But we're going to start with the user manager. So now I'm going to have a user manager. We are still having a problem here. That's fine. So find by. So we're going to be using this method called find by name asynchronous, and you're going to send as a parameter the name of the user. Now we still have an error here. Let's have a look at that. So we saw this a little bit when we spoke about partial views. Partial views, you saw this terminology here, this thing called async. An asynchronous method. What is an asynchronous method? It's a method that gets called, a new thread is created in memory, and the resources of the system, they get released, and they don't get blocked by that method that is waiting to be done, to get finished. So again, the performance is better when you use asynchronous methods like this, like this one. Now, to be able to use an asynchronous method, you have to use the keywords await. Okay? Again, whenever you use asynchronous method, and by the way, all methods that you're going to be using from a user manager, they are all asynchronous. Create, update, delete, find, like this one here, they are all asynchronous methods. Okay? Now, with asynchronous methods, we have to use the keywords await. So asynchronous awaits. But wait, there's more. There is more that you have. Yes?
It's not clear what is asynchronous.
Asynchronous? Okay, asynchronous. So traditionally with methods, when you call a method, let's say that this is not asynchronous. Until this method is done and finished, the system will be waiting for that. It waits for that to be done, and the resources of the system, they get tied up into waiting for that. When you use asynchronous, we use something called multi-threading. Multi-threading is the capacity of the application to handle multiple, think of multiple jobs in memory running in parallel. So when we use an asynchronous method, this starts a new job in memory, okay? And it doesn't wait for that to be done to release resources for the rest of the system. By using an asynchronous method, what we are saying is that, do this for me. When you are done, come back. But the system is not waiting for that. Now, I'll tell you this. The system is not waiting, but this method here is waiting for that. However, other things in the system can carry on while this is waiting to get done. But this method here, this method is waiting, but not other parts of the system. So what happens is that this method allows, again, the system to free up resources to do other processing. Now, this particular method, it does stop here, and it does not carry on until it comes back. But for that to happen, I don't know if it helps, but again, async is about multi-threading, about multiple threads in memory that are running in parallel, okay? Now, we use the keyword await, but there's more. The methods that we are calling from inside, so we are calling this method here inside of the login action, the login methods. Login action is just a fancy name for public methods inside the controller. So this method needs to be flagged as asynchronous as well. You cannot have an asynchronous method being called from a non-asynchronous, from another non-asynchronous method. This method itself, it needs to be asynchronous as well. So we need to flag that. We need to say that. We need to come here and say public asynchronous. We need to say this. This was done in the identity seed too. You see? In the identity seed we had async here. Okay, so we're getting there. So now we made this method asynchronous, but there's more. Things never get easier. They always get a little bit more complicated, isn't it? It's no, the other way doesn't exist. Okay, so what is left there? It's still complaining about this. Well, here's the thing. It's not the namespace. I wish it would be, but it's a little bit more complicated. But in the context of an action, we have to wrap view result inside something called a task. So it gets a little bit more complicated, but that's it. We're just going to say that this asynchronous method is a task of type viewer results. Okay, so we have to wrap this up inside. So this becomes a task. And to be quite honest, I would just focus on the fact that this is still a view result. Yes, it's wrapped inside a task because this is an asynchronous method, okay? But again, in the end, I really care about this part here, this type here, view results. Task is just because this is an asynchronous action, okay? So the point is this. Whenever you are using inside an action in a synchronous method like this, the action has to be asynchronous and it has to be wrapped inside the type task. That's what I would like to stay behind. Again, if you use an asynchronous, and by the way, you're going to be using asynchronous quite a lot because, as I said, pretty much all methods that you're going to be using from the user manager, they are all asynchronous, as well as from another class that you're going to be talking in a second. But that's about it. It's just that. Questions? Okay, can you tell me which videos I can refer to for assignment 3? Well, you can refer to videos from chapter 8, chapter 9, chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 12. Because it involves, now, I'm exaggerating a little bit. So for assignment 3, it's about converting to a database. So everything that's relates to database, it's talking about there. I think that from chapter 8, we started in database. So it's pretty much all videos that are related to database. In addition, because we are creating a CRUD, the videos from, again, there is no escape, really. It involves everything that we have done so far. Okay? Again, the database ones, the database chapters, the database which are pretty much everyone. Every single video there. No. Now, you can always go back to the specific classes that we have covered, how we created database context. You can follow those. So you have the videos from the book and the videos of the class recording as well. Okay? In the source codes. Again, I know it's a lot, but nobody said that it would be easy. Okay. What else? What else we have here? Now what is it that we are doing here? We're creating a user, and we are trying to do what here? We're trying to find the user, isn't it? So if it finds the user becomes that user. However, if this does not find the user becomes what? Becomes most likely a null. Okay? So for us to test the passwords, first we need to check, is user equals to null? Yes or no? So let's do that. Let's do that here. Let's say if user is not null, okay, so if the user exists, now let's test if the password is a match, okay? Now, password matching is another story, because for the password, we cannot use, user manager does not provide services for password management. Okay, we have to use another class. We have user manager. We're going to have now something called sign-in manager. Sign-in manager is the one that we're going to be using to validate passwords, to log in, and to log out. Validate passwords, log in, and log out. User manager, create, update, delete, and find. Search, user. sign-in manager, check passwords, log in, and log out. So we're going to create that here. We're going to say that private sign-in manager of type identity user. So we're going to use the identity user again here. And you're going to say sign-in manager. That's the name. And very similar to what we did with user manager, we're going to do with sign-in manager. We're going to use dependency injection to perform that. So sign-in mgr. And again, via dependency injection, we're going to say sign-in manager equals to this. Okay, so with the sign-in manager now created, we can now check if the password is valid or not. We can do something like this. If sign-in manager, the methods that's going to be using, they are also asynchronous. So we're going to say if await sign-in manager dot password, let's see, password sign-in async. And then we're going to say, and then the first parameter is the user, so we have the user here. The second parameter is the password. Here is the password. And then we have another parameter. Well, this is persistent. This is what would keep the user logged in from one session to the other one, from opening the browser once to the next one. We will keep this as false. And the last one is in case the user fails to log in properly with the wrong password, should we lock that account? Should we lock them down from trying again? I'm not going to set that, so I'm going to say false. And we're going to say close this. Let me just get this right. Dot succeed. Is that succeed? Let me check here something. Controller. Succeeded. Yep, succeeded. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, there is another parameter, another parenthesis here. Dot succeeded. So this line gave us a few things. It not only checks the password of the user against the password that we give, but it also signs in the user. So in the same line, we are doing both. We are checking if the password is valid, and if it is valid, we log in. What does it mean to log in the user? Well, it means that the cookie in the user in the client side, it gets set to an identifier for that user. It says, okay, I know which user you are. Here it is. Now you are connected to, you are logged in. Now I can validate you, okay? With this done, I ask the question, Questions? Again, I don't expect you to come out of here tonight knowing every single parameter that is here, knowing every single, having this all clear, all very clear. What I'm giving you is the basic, I would say, elements of how you put together a login, so we can explore and apply this to our assignment as well. Actually, sorry, assignment, no. The project. Project is the one that we're going to be using that, and we're going to discuss this in a little bit. But yeah, my intention is to give you a general understanding, okay? So tell me if in general, if you're not following, let me know. I will, again, go back and address things again, okay? Okay, assuming that we're all fine, what should I do if the user exists, if the password is correct? What should happen then? Go to where you were before. You were trying to go before. I was trying to go to /order/list. How about we go back there? How about we, now that the user is validated, let it go there. So we can do something like this. We can say return, redirect, and I'm going to use redirect now. We could use something else, but let's use redirect for the sake of this example here. And we can say /order/list. But we have a problem. You always have a problem. How many red lines we can see? Okay, what is this problem? What is the problem this time? Again, when you have a problem, read what the line is telling you, because it will give you a very good clue about what's going on. So when we use the redirect methods, redirect, it creates a redirect result. But our method returns a view result. But again, this one returns a redirect result. This view here returns a view result. So it's a match. It matches. So view returns a view result, which matches to view result here. Redirect returns a redirect result, which does not match there. So we have view results in one side and redirect results in another side. What do you think that we may have to do here with this type to be able to be either this one or this one here? Redirect results or view results? What should we do with this guy here? We should change. The question is to what? I don't expect you to know the name of that one, but let's just think through this. I have those two types, those two classes that in a way, they are siblings. View results and redirect result, they are siblings. So what is it that we need to sort it out? We need to sort it out, who's the parent of both of them? Because then we can say, oh, instead of returning the view results, return the parent of both of them. Then we just have to find out what is the parent of both of them. Well, it has an iAction result. It has action results. Action result is the parent of both of them. Both of them inherit from action results. So instead of returning the specific view results, we go one level up and we return the parent of both. So now I can return either a redirect or I can return a view as well. So we're going to change up there. You're going to say, well, I can say action results, and now we are fine. It can return view and it can return a redirect. I could say iAction result as well. Okay? In object-oriented programming, you should always try to return from a method the most specific type that you can. I mean, we could very much put object here. Object is the parent of all classes. But we don't want to go all the way up. We just want to go higher enough that can encompass both of them, both redirect and view results. So we change there, and we are done here. We're done with the login. Let's put this, let's give this a try. See if there are any questions here. Okay. So let me see here. Okay. Always is async needed for task or void? Okay. And using in controllers. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So void. So async does not have any correlation with void. Okay. Void is the type that you can return for methods, but our methods here, they have a type. They are not void, okay? This is the type, task, action, results. So again, there's no relation between void and sync. Void is when a method doesn't have a return, okay? But our methods, our actions, they have return types, okay? That's the first thing. What was there? And only using in control. Yes. So the only place that I have observed the use of task together with async were for actions inside controllers. Okay, so yes, that's the answer to that one. What are the false for? Are they used for? No. Okay. So I kind of mentioned what at that point, but the first false is so that whenever we close the browser and we open it again, we need to log in again. We need to perform the login again. We can change that behavior by setting to true. So again, the first one is for that. For closing the browser and we open again, we need to log in again. It doesn't stay. The second one, the second false here, the second false is for, some applications, some systems, when you try many times to log in and you fail, it locks the user. It locks out the user for a certain number of minutes or a certain time. So the second one is to specify whether or not you're going to be locking the user out if they try and the password fails. Okay? So that's the second one. That's what false means. Yes?
If I put the true, then it's not going to lock
well, this is promising that it will lock. To be quite honest, I didn't try to put through yet. It's going to lock. If you fail, it's going to lock the user and it will not allow for a certain amount of time. I'm not sure what is the default time.
Even if I put the true in there instead of false?
Yeah, so actually the parameter is called, let's have a look here. See, lockout on failure. Flag indicating if the user account should be locked if the sign-in fails. So it's true, so it will lock. Okay? Okay. How do we keep logged in status? Because the code close, okay. Okay, how do we keep logged in status? Because the code, well, we have sessions. We have sessions via this part here. In our startup, so startup here. See, we have sessions here, okay? So we are using sessions. So again, how do we keep logged in status? Because the code doesn't mention any cook. Yeah, so you can try to play around with these parameters here. Try to put this to true and see if you will still remain logged in after you try, okay? I'll give it a try here. Okay. Okay. Let's try this. Okay, so we have the interface there. Let's click login. This is saved in my browser. And now I can see I can go back. Okay. And mark it shipped. So we are able to log in now. A few more things that we should address here. Let me see here. Just see if we're missing anything here. We create the account, we did that. We did the login with the get and post. We created the login view, it's great. We add the name and password. Okay. Okay, so this is a good opportunity for us to have a look at what is a view model. Look, our login view, it doesn't have any model, correct? It doesn't have a model up there. Because we don't have a model that fits this structure here. We don't have a model that has a name and a password. We don't have that. But what if we could create a model that has a name and password? What if we could create a model, and in this case, we are creating a, by the way, when I say model, you can think of a class. Model is the same as a class, okay? So how about we create a class that we can send and receive data between the views and the controllers. In this case, we are sending individual parameters as parameters in the action, the login action. However, what if we convert this to a model? Just to be able to move data between views and controllers. We could create a model here, and we're going to do that now. It's a special type of class. It's actually what it's called a view model. It's a class that its only objective is to move data between views and controllers. We're going to create this class here. We're going to create a class, very simple class called login model. And it has two properties. Two strings. One is for the name. Another one is for the password. So it's a string as well. That's it. It cannot be simpler than that. It will just, now, our models, they can be more complicated. They can have many properties. But in our case, just name and passwords. So with that in mind, let's go back to our login. And let's say that this login now is attached to model, login model. Now, because we have a login model, I can very much say this. I can say ASP-4. Now I can say name, because now my login model has a name. Now, my login model, let me keep type here, but my login model has a password. So now we are linking a new the login model to the properties. So we are linking via the ASP4. What else should we change? Well, we should go back to our controller and change what here? In our login posts, what do we change here? We are sending name and password independently, but now we're going to send what? What is it that login will receive? So it will be receiving a login model. So you're going to say here, login model, and I'm going to call this login model. It's about the namespace, so I need to add, if I can, no, I cannot, so I can just type in manually using sports store dot models dot view models. So I'm just adding the namespace. And now, what do I do with this and this? Login model dot name and login model dot password. So now, look at what we did. We just changed our model, our view, which was a view without a model. It was not binding to any model. Now it's binding. And it continues to work as expected. So if we go back there, oh, it went straight away. Let me go here. Okay, so the question here is why we put view model, why not login model, view model? Okay, so when I say view model is just a terminology. It is just a way to classify this kind of class. It's not, view model is not really a keyword. It's not a keyword. It's not how can I say? It's not a type for the language. It's just a way that we can say this type of class is what we usually call a view model, because it brings data back and forth between controllers and views. Now, again, view model is not a keyword, is not a mandatory term that you need to use inside your codes. We are just using it here right here, we are using that name, but it's just the name of the folder. It could be any name, actually. Here, it's not mandatory to have this name. I'm just giving this name because I know that those classes, their only reason for existing is to help in the application. It's to help to transfer data between controller and views. That's it. Again, this is not a keyword. This is not a mandatory. It could be any name you want here. Okay? Let me see here the question again. Why we put view model? Yeah, so there's no such folder as login model, okay? So login model is just the name of the class, the name of our new class, okay? Again, we don't have a folder called login model. We could call this folder login model, but again, we have already a class inside of, so again, it doesn't make sense to call it login model. Login model is just this class. You had a question? Okay. Okay, let's see. MVVC. MVVC is model view. No, MVVC. I don't know if there's MVVC. MVVC. Model view model. There's MVVM. I don't remember MVVC, but there might be. You can do all kinds of combinations there. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go for our 10 minutes. Once we get back, we will be moving forward. Okay, 10 minutes.